Alex had always enjoyed the tranquility of the suburban neighborhood. The houses were modest but well-maintained, and the community thrived on mutual respect and understanding. Alex's home, with its clean lines and lush garden, stood on a quiet street, sharing a narrow driveway with the neighboring property. Over the years, different tenants had come and gone, but all had respected the shared space, maintaining a harmonious balance. That peace, however, was disrupted the day Karen and her husband Brad moved in. The couple seemed pleasant enough during their initial introduction. Karen was all smiles and Brad offered a polite nod before retreating to unload their belongings. Yet as the days passed, cracks in their facade began to show. Karen exuded an air of superiority, often walking past Alex without acknowledgement or offering only a curt nod. Brad, on the other hand, appeared disengaged, rarely stepping in to address any concerns. The first hint of trouble came when Karen's car, a shiny new SUV, began to dominate the shared driveway. It wasn't just the size of the vehicle but the way it was parked, frequently encroaching on Alex's side, forcing awkward maneuvers to enter or exit. At first, Alex brushed it off as an oversight, assuming Karen would adjust with time. Unfortunately, the inconsiderate parking persisted. Before Alex could address the issue, another disruption emerged. Karen began hosting late-night gatherings that shattered the neighborhood's quiet charm. Music blared, voices carried, and cars lined the street, blocking driveways and leaving behind a trail of beer bottles and trash. The once pristine shared driveway became a dumping ground after every party. Alex found themselves cleaning up the mess on more than one occasion, a task that felt increasingly unfair. Despite the growing frustrations, Alex decided to approach the situation calmly. Knocking on Karen's door one afternoon, Alex politely raised concerns about the driveway usage and the aftermath of the parties. Karen's response was dismissive, her tone laced with indifference. "It's just a bit of noise," she said with a shrug. "We're all neighbors here. What's the big deal?" Brad stood silently in the background, avoiding Alex's gaze, offering neither support nor acknowledgement. It was clear he wouldn't intervene. Alex left the conversation feeling unheard but resolved to maintain civility. However, as Karen's parties became more frequent and her disregard for boundaries more blatant, Alex began to wonder how long the peace of their once idyllic neighborhood could last. Alex had been considering switching to an electric vehicle for some time. After months of research and planning, they finally purchased a sleek, eco-friendly car. To make the most of it, Alex decided to install a level 2 charger on their side of the shared driveway. The installation process was no small feat. It required hiring a licensed electrician, obtaining permits, and ensuring the system was up to code. It was an investment both financially and in terms of time, but one Alex was willing to make for the convenience of charging their new car at home. The charger was strategically placed on Alex's side of the driveway, away from the shared border, to avoid any potential conflicts. It was clearly marked as Alex's personal property, connected to their electricity bill. For Alex, it seemed like a simple addition, a practical solution to accommodate their new vehicle. Little did they know, this charger would become a source of unexpected conflict. A few weeks after the installation, Alex noticed something unusual. One evening, after plugging in their car, Alex stepped outside to check on the charge and found their vehicle unplugged. In its place was Karen's brand new electric SUV, hooked up to the charger. Alex stood there, stunned, trying to process the situation. It wasn't just the audacity of using the charger without permission. It was the blatant disregard for boundaries. Determined to address the issue directly, Alex knocked on Karen's door. She answered with a smug smile, as if expecting praise rather than confrontation. "Hey Karen," Alex began, trying to remain calm. "I noticed your car is using my charger. I just want to make sure you're aware that it's connected to my electricity bill. I'd appreciate it if you asked before using it." Karen's expression shifted slightly, but her tone remained dismissive. "Oh, I thought it came with the property. The landlord didn't mention anything about it being private. Besides, we're neighbors. It's just electricity. It's not a big deal, right?" Alex was taken aback by her nonchalant attitude. "It's not about the electricity. I paid for the charger, the installation, and it's hooked up to my account. I don't mind helping out occasionally, but you need to ask first." Karen smirked, clearly unbothered. "Relax, Alex. It's not like I'm stealing your car or anything. I'll be done in an hour." She shut the door, leaving Alex standing there frustrated and bewildered. In the following weeks, the misuse escalated. Karen and Brad continued to use the charger without permission, often unplugging Alex's car to plug in their own vehicles. Each incident felt like a slap in the face, a reminder that Karen and Brad had no intention of respecting Alex's property. Despite multiple polite requests, Karen dismissed Alex's concerns with the same flippant attitude, brushing it off as if Alex was overreacting. The situation began to take a toll on Alex, not just financially as the electricity bills climbed, but emotionally. The shared driveway had become a battleground, a constant source of tension and frustration. Alex knew something had to be done, but the question was how to put an end to Karen and Brad's entitlement without escalating the conflict further. The situation with Karen and Brad reached a breaking point as their misuse of the charger continued unchecked. Each day brought a new incident and Alex's patience wore thinner. The shared driveway, once a symbol of neighborly cooperation, now felt like hostile territory. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about respect, or rather, the lack of it. One morning, Alex walked outside to find their car unplugged yet again, with Brad's vehicle now occupying the charger. This time, Alex decided they'd had enough. "What do you think you're doing?" Alex called out, catching Brad in the act. Brad looked up, feigning innocence. "Relax, Alex. It's just a little power. You're acting like this is some huge deal." Alex felt their frustration boil over. "It is a big deal. I've told you before. This is my charger on my electricity bill. It's not a free-for-all." But Brad shrugged it off, muttering something about being neighborly as he walked back inside. Alex realized that polite conversations weren't going to work. Karen and Brad had made it clear they didn't care about boundaries or fairness. If Alex wanted this to stop, they'd need to take a more decisive approach. That evening, Alex began documenting every instance of misuse. They took photos, noted dates and times, and even recorded their rising electricity costs. It was a tedious and frustrating process, but Alex knew it was necessary. The evidence would be crucial if they needed to escalate the matter. After weeks of gathering evidence, Alex decided it was time to involve the authorities. They called the non-emergency police line and explained the situation, detailing how Karen and Brad were using the charger without permission and how it was affecting Alex financially and emotionally. The officer on the phone was sympathetic and assured Alex they'd send someone to mediate. When the police arrived, Karen's reaction was as dramatic as Alex had expected. She stood on her porch, arms crossed, her voice sharp with indignation. "This is ridiculous," she shouted. "It's a shared driveway. That charger is part of the property. You can't just claim it for yourself." Alex calmly explained to the officers that the charger was privately installed and connected to their electricity bill. They showed the receipts for the purchase and installation, as well as the documentation of increased electricity usage. The officers reviewed the evidence and quickly sided with Alex. "Ma'am," one officer said firmly, turning to Karen, "this charger is private property. Using it without permission is theft. You need to stop immediately or we'll have to take further action." Karen's face flushed with anger, but she didn't back down. "This is absurd. We're neighbors. It's not like I'm hurting anyone." But the officers were unmoved. "You've been warned," the second officer added. "If this continues, there will be legal consequences." Karen stormed back inside, slamming the door behind her. Though Alex felt a small sense of victory, they knew this wasn't over. Karen's entitlement wasn't something that would disappear overnight. To protect their property and prevent future incidents, Alex made the difficult decision to relocate the charger into their garage. It was a costly and time-consuming process, but it felt like the only way to ensure their peace of mind. The day after the charger was moved, Alex awoke to furious knocking at their door. Karen stood outside, her face twisted with anger. "Where's the charger?" she demanded. Alex took a deep breath, determined to stay calm. "It's in my garage now. It's my property and I have every right to move it. You can't just take it away." Karen spat. "I need it for my car. This is theft and I'm calling the police." Alex couldn't believe the audacity. "Karen, it's not your charger. It never was. The police have already told you that. If you continue this harassment, you'll leave me no choice but to take further action." Karen stormed off, muttering threats under her breath. Later that day, the police returned, this time responding to Karen's claim that Alex had stolen the charger. However, with the same evidence in hand, Alex once again proved ownership, and Karen's baseless accusations were dismissed. The officers warned Karen that any further false reports or harassment would lead to serious consequences. Defeated, she retreated to her home, but the resentment in her glare was unmistakable. Alex knew that while this chapter might be closing, Karen's entitled behavior wasn't likely to change anytime soon. For now, though, the driveway and Alex's peace was safe. With the charger safely relocated to the garage, Alex felt a brief sense of relief. For the first time in weeks, they could charge their car without worrying about interference. However, the tension with Karen and Brad lingered like a storm cloud. Each time Alex crossed paths with them, Karen's icy glares and Brad's smug smirks were a reminder that the conflict was far from over. The next few days passed without incident, but Alex wasn't naive. Karen had proven her willingness to escalate, and Alex suspected she was plotting her next move. To safeguard their property, Alex decided to install a set of security cameras around the house. The cameras covered the driveway, garage, and front yard, ensuring there would be a clear record of any further tampering or harassment. It didn't take long for the cameras to prove their worth. One evening, as Alex reviewed the footage, they caught Brad sneaking into the driveway and attempting to access the now-empty charger port outside. He seemed confused at first, pulling on the disconnected cables, then frustrated when he realized the charger was no longer there. Alex saved the clip, adding it to their growing collection of evidence. The next morning, Karen's retaliation arrived. Alex woke up to find the driveway scattered with garbage, empty soda cans, fast food wrappers, and a broken box of eggs smeared across the pavement. It was petty and childish, but Alex wasn't surprised. Karen was clearly lashing out over her loss of access to the charger. Alex decided not to confront Karen directly. Instead, they reviewed the footage, which clearly showed Karen dumping the trash under cover of darkness. Armed with this evidence, Alex filed a report with the police, citing harassment and vandalism. The officers, familiar with the ongoing dispute, took the matter seriously. They paid Karen a visit, warning her that further incidents would lead to charges. Karen's anger boiled over after the police visit. That evening, she stood on her porch, shouting loud enough for the entire neighborhood to hear. "This is harassment. I have rights too. I won't be bullied by a charger thief." Her outburst drew curious stares from other neighbors, but no one stepped in to support her. It was clear Karen's antics were beginning to alienate the community. Despite Karen's continued hostility, Alex focused on maintaining their routine. They went to work, ran errands, and tried to reclaim a sense of normalcy. Meanwhile, the security cameras provided peace of mind, capturing every interaction and ensuring Alex had evidence to back up any future claims. One day, as Alex returned home from work, they were approached by a neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, who lived a few houses down. "I just wanted to say I admire how you've handled this whole situation," she said warmly. "Karen has been a nightmare since she moved in, and it's about time someone stood up to her." The conversation with Mrs. Henderson gave Alex a boost of confidence. They weren't alone in dealing with Karen's entitlement. Other neighbors had noticed her behavior and were quietly rooting for Alex. It felt good to have support, even if it was unspoken. Over the next few weeks, Karen's behavior began to shift. The police visits and growing neighborhood scrutiny seemed to dampen her boldness. She stopped dumping trash in the driveway and no longer tried to access the charger. However, her resentment was still palpable. Each time she passed Alex, her glare carried the weight of unspoken threats. Alex remained vigilant, knowing that Karen's sense of entitlement wouldn't disappear overnight. They continued to document everything, ensuring they were prepared for whatever came next. Despite the ongoing tension, Alex felt a renewed sense of control. By standing their ground and refusing to be intimidated, they had reclaimed their peace, one small victory at a time. Though the shared driveway would never return to its former harmony, Alex learned to navigate the challenges of living next to Karen and Brad. The ordeal had been draining, but it taught Alex a valuable lesson. Standing up for your rights is never easy, but it's always worth it. As weeks turned into months, Alex began to settle into a new routine. The charger was secure in the garage. The security cameras provided an added layer of protection, and Karen seemed to have pulled back from her more outrageous behavior. However, the uneasy truce was a fragile one. Alex knew it wouldn't take much to shatter the fragile peace. One morning, Alex stepped outside to find a formal notice taped to their front door. It was from Karen, claiming that the placement of the security cameras violated her privacy. She threatened legal action unless Alex removed them. Alex couldn't help but laugh at the irony. Karen, who had trespassed and vandalized, was now claiming to be the victim. Still, Alex wasn't about to take her threats lightly. They reviewed local laws to ensure their cameras were within legal limits and consulted a lawyer to confirm they were on solid ground. Armed with this reassurance, Alex responded to Karen's letter with a clear and firm reply. The cameras were placed on their property, focused solely on areas Alex owned or shared, and complied with all legal requirements. Any further threats would be considered harassment. Unsurprisingly, Karen didn't respond, but her glares became sharper, her passive-aggressive comments louder. Despite Karen's hostility, Alex remained focused on preserving their peace. The other neighbors, witnessing the ongoing conflict, began to rally around Alex. They shared their own grievances about Karen: noise complaints, parking disputes, and similar instances of entitlement. Some even offered to provide statements should Alex need further support. For the first time, Alex felt like they weren't fighting this battle alone. One night, however, Karen made one last desperate attempt to assert her dominance. Alex awoke to the sound of loud banging on their front door. When they opened it, Karen stood there, fuming. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You've made my life hell, and I'm not going to let you get away with it." Alex, calm but firm, replied, "Karen, this has never been about making your life difficult. I've only ever asked for respect, for my property and my boundaries. If you can't honor that, then maybe you should rethink how you interact with others." Karen's face twisted in rage, but she had no comeback. She turned on her heel and stomped back to her house, slamming the door behind her. The following week brought an unexpected development. A for rent sign appeared in front of Karen and Brad's house. Alex learned through another neighbor that the landlord had finally decided to evict them after numerous complaints from other tenants and neighbors. Karen's reign of entitlement was coming to an end. When moving day arrived, Alex watched from their window as Karen and Brad loaded their belongings into a rented truck. Karen's glare was as fierce as ever, but she said nothing. As the truck pulled away, Alex felt an immense sense of relief. The neighborhood, once disrupted by their antics, could finally return to the peaceful haven it had been before. In the weeks that followed, Alex reflected on the ordeal. It had been exhausting and frustrating, but it had also taught them invaluable lessons about standing up for their rights and boundaries. The cameras, the documentation, the persistence, it all paid off in the end. Alex had not only reclaimed their peace but also gained the respect and support of their neighbors. The new tenants who moved into Karen's old house were polite and considerate. The shared driveway was once again a space of harmony, and Alex could finally enjoy their home without the looming shadow of conflict. As Alex parked their car in the driveway one quiet evening, they smiled, knowing they had fought for their peace and won. It wasn't just about the charger or the driveway, it was about standing up for what was right. And that victory was worth every ounce of effort. Have you ever dealt with an entitled neighbor or someone who crossed boundaries? How did you handle it? What would you have done if you were in Alex's position? Would you have handled it differently? Did you enjoy the story and the twists along the way? Let us know in the comments how you'd handle a neighbor like Karen. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you love hearing stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode of HOA Havoc. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.